Here's a quick video on when it makes sense to pass a cyclist and when it doesn't make sense to pass a cyclist. So we're driving on this road and we'll kind of just talk about things that come up here along the way until that cyclist does show up. And I want to talk momentarily about this car up ahead as well. So the light is red. And here we go. It went to a flashing green light. That means it's a pedestrian-controlled traffic light. We're in a 40 zone. And I'm going about 40 here. And you can see this car in front of me is just pulling away, right? So they're not really abiding by the speed limit posted. And not a big deal at the time being. But let's see what happens. They come up and they kind of close in on the car in front of them, and then now they're following pretty close. Now, here's the cyclist that I was talking about. Now, there's a parked car in this lane, and there's a little bit of, unused space in that lane that the cyclist might be able to go into. But I have to think, yes, I probably could thread the needle past them, but do I really want to, right? There's going to be a time and place where I will be able to pass them safely without them getting the feeling like someone's just passing them by really closely and me feeling like, oh, I wonder if this is gonna all work out, right? So as I'm approaching here, what I'm seeing up ahead is the light's red, right? So I know, that light's gonna take about 20 or 30 seconds before it changes to green. Thinking, yes, there is a little bit of a stretch here that I could perhaps try to pass the cyclist. But then again, what is the incentive for me trying to close in on this gap so quickly, given the fact that this cyclist has just a little bit of space here before they're then again forced to come into this lane here. So this cyclist is trying their best to kind of just move over and give me that space in case I decide to pass by here. But again, I saw right now the light's gone to green. So I know in a moment's time, once this traffic starts picking back up and this cyclist starts perhaps moving over a little bit more to this stretch here, then I can try to pass on that next stretch. But on the previous stretch, let me just go back here. There was really no incentive for me to try to rush past them and then hit the brake for this red light coming up. So I prefer to just, stay in my lane, give them plenty of room so they could just come back into this lane and pass me. So when you have a cyclist in your lane or close to your lane, you have to start thinking about these things, right? Where is that place that I'm going to safely pass by? Where is a place that it makes sense for me to just stay back a bit? And being okay with that, right? Being okay with the fact that, the cyclists aren't going as fast as they could. And, to be honest, I would prefer in the ideal world if cyclists, when they're on this road, they would just pedal, right? But they're human, they get tired, so they don't always pedal. Like, it might just seem like, yeah, we should coast, but it's almost the same thing with vehicles. If we're going not close to the flow of traffic, it creates more confusion, it creates more of a dangerous situation. Now, I don't expect the cyclists to be able to keep up with the speed of traffic, but it would be nice if they pedal rather than just kind of coasting down this hill. But that's a story for a different time. We're not here to change people's behavior. We're here to think about how can we manage our vehicle and our positioning on the road so that we can keep everyone safe. Now, it just happens to be the case that this person does pass by and then they end up taking the right at this intersection. Now, I want to now talk about the behavior of the car in front of us. You see back at the previous intersection, they were in front of us, the light turned green, and then they went the regular speed, right? The typical 50 that we're used to. So, but this stretch of Quadra is a 40, and so notice, by the way, they have one brake light. I'm not seeing the other two brake lights working, right? So right away, I should start thinking, okay, I don't know which other one of their lights might not be working. Maybe their signal light is not working either, right? If 2 out of 3 brake lights is burned, I now need to make sure that I give this vehicle plenty of space. The other thing is, I know from the previous intersection, this person likes to just rush up and get to something and then stop. it's not specific to this driver, it's specific to 95% of the drivers on the road, right? And so when I see impatient behavior like that, I no longer trust the driver in front of me, and I start building my space cushion. I don't close in on them, right? So I want you to pay attention to how many times they're braking here, because they're so close to that car. When that car hits the brake, they have to hit the brake. Then they go forward, they hit the brake, this person hits the brake. And yes, you can do that, and you might be able to do it 10,000 times, 50,000 times, 100,000 times. But do you really want to play that game of one time you're not paying attention and they hit the brake and you forget to hit the brake, or you're late on hitting the brake and then you rear end that vehicle, right? So in any case, as soon as I see that kind of behavior, I keep my distance from that car and I treat them as if they're a hazard in front of me. Now, the other thing is, I find with these type of drivers, because they follow so closely to another car, they get really frustrated when the car in front of them ends up having to brake for something. So they'll brake and then this person brakes. They brake and then this person brakes. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, this person in front of me is always braking. Let me just whip past them. I'll do an illegal passing maneuver on the right lane and then come in front of them, right? So if you ever feel like the vehicle in front of you is driving you up the wall, they're not driving like the way you want them to, it's more a reflection on you as a driver as it is on them. Yes, they probably are doing the same thing that this vehicle is doing, so they're not leaving enough room, and so they're always hitting the brake reactionary, and then this person is reacting to them, and then they all get frustrated with one another. But if you ever find yourself in that position, the first thing you should ask yourself is, why is it that every time this person does an abrupt brake, I have to do an abrupt brake? And the answer then should be, hey, I need to adjust my following distance, right? I need to leave more room. And so if you recall reading in your Learn to Drive Smart book, in the city, they recommend being 2 seconds away, right? And so if you're going 50 kilometers an hour, you're going about 13 meters per second. So you should be 2 seconds away, 26 meters back, right? That's a large swimming pool. Now, this is speed dependent, right? So if we're moving 20 kilometers an hour or 25 kilometers an hour, then half the amount of following distance is still pretty decent, right? So right now, we're not moving that fast. So this following distance that I previously had here, let me get the traffic. So we just start going again. So I'm letting him kind of get away, and then they hit the brake, and I'm kind of slowly adjusting my speed. And then they hit the brake, and I'm coming up, and I'm going to come up and come to a safe stop behind them. So the main takeaway from this video is, whether there's a cyclist in front of you that you're getting impatient with, whether there's a vehicle in front of you that you feel like they're constantly stopping, it all comes back to, how is my following distance from other road users, right? Because if I am following really close to people, then if something happens, I'm all of a sudden there. And so very often we'll be on a road with a student and there'll be a cyclist, and the student just kind of comes up and gets like within a meter or 2 meters of that cyclist. And now they're following them, and they keep looking over their shoulder like, should I be pedaling faster right now? I tell the student, I'm like, what if this cyclist fumbles up and falls off their bike, right? Do you really want to be there with your 3,000-pound vehicle right there with them, right? So don't do it, right? Leave more room. It's okay to be inconvenienced. There's going to be a place for you to pass by them safely, and you're on your way. So I hope you learned something from this video, and that is to cover your brake, rebuild space cushions whenever you need to feel in control of the situation, right? I always tell students, the distance from here and to the next car is your bank account. And on the other side of that is a collision waiting to happen, right? And collisions are really expensive. They drive up your premium. And if you want to still pay for the accident to keep your premium low, it's still quite expensive. So treat this like your bank account, leave lots of money in it, and protect yourself and protect other road users. So I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.